Welcome to Book Summary Podcast, your gateway to personal transformation. Each episode delivers big ideas from the world's most impactful books on mindset, productivity, and success, all in just a few minutes. Ready to turn knowledge into action? Let's get started.
Welcome to the Deep Dive, the show where we cut through the noise to get you well-informed fast.
Glad to be here.
Today, we're asking a pretty big question. What if true financial security isn't just about, rigid spreadsheets and cutting up credit cards?
Right.
What if it's more about understanding human behavior, leveraging time, and maybe a surprisingly strategic approach to your career and how you invest?
That's exactly our mission today. We're taking a deep dive into Scott Galloway's book, The Algebra of Wealth.
Okay.
And look, this isn't your typical personal finance guide. It's really a powerful distillation of wealth creation into 4 actionable principles, almost like a shortcut to economic security.
A shortcut. Interesting.
Yeah, it's about making the most of your blessings, your talents, and really understanding the mindset you need to build lasting wealth.
And the why for this deep dive, it feels more urgent now than maybe ever before.
It really does.
I mean, consider this, and it's pretty stark. The median U.S. home price is now 6 times the median annual income.
6 times.
50 years ago, it was just 2 times. And medical debt, it's the leading cause of consumer bankruptcy. And marriage rates, they're way down for everyone except the wealthiest because, frankly, people just feel like they can't afford to tie the knot.
It's true. And Galloway points out something quite provocative. He says money isn't just talking anymore. For a lot of people, it feels like it's swearing at them.
Swearing at them.
Like wealth used to mean maybe a slightly better seat in the same stadium of life, right?
Okay.
But now, for too many, it feels like an upgrade to an entirely different life. Different planes, different doctors, totally different experiences.
So security isn't a luxury, it's fundamental.
It's about having fundamental control, the ability to actually plan your future.
Okay, so let's unpack this. Galloway's first pillar, the foundation, stoicism and building character.
Right.
He starts with a really interesting point, almost counterintuitive. He says, seeking wealth for your own economic security, that's not some policy failure to be debated.
Yeah, he acknowledges that some people say every billionaire is a policy failure, but he frames it differently for the individual.
How so?
He argues that for you, the listener, the urgent issue isn't debating billionaires, it's securing your own economic future. It's about personal agency.
Personal agency. And that links directly to character, doesn't it?
Absolutely. What's fascinating here is how our actions don't just reflect who we are, they actively shape our character.
Ah, okay. It's a feedback loop.
Exactly. A powerful, self-reinforcing cycle. And look, it's not mysterious or anything. It's just, well, it's difficult. The consistent choices we make day in, day out, they fundamentally determine who we become over time.
And capitalism, it has a lot to work with there, influencing those choices.
Oh, definitely. Galloway argues it's basically designed to persuade you to spend. It's constantly whispering, YNSN, you need stuff now.
YNSN, you need stuff now.
Right. And it's deeply rooted in our biology. I mean, think about it. For 99% of human history, most people didn't live past 35. Starvation was the #1 killer.
Right. Scarcity was the norm.
So our brains evolved to link pleasure intensely to sugar, fat, and salt, things that were once really hard to come by. Then, once survival is kind of checked off the list, the next big instinct is propagation, finding a mate.
And that often involves signaling status.
Precisely. Galloway tells that famous story about buying a BMW 320i with his first big bonus. Hung swim goggles from the mirror.
Great, I remember that.
He says flat out, it had nothing to do with transportation. It was purely about signaling he had resources, that he was a good potential mate.
So it's survival instincts, then status signaling. This sounds like it leads into that distinction Stephen Covey made, the character ethic versus the personality ethic.
Exactly. Older self-help, focused on genuinely building virtues, temperance, industriousness, patience, the character ethic.
Okay.
But a lot of modern advice, the personality ethic, it's more about how to present yourself. Like, how to win friends and influence people. Quick fixes, tactics.
And Galloway's point is...
His point, and it's a strong one, is that truly successful habits, like waking up at 5:30 a.m., they aren't usually the cause of success. They're more often a product of an already industrious, disciplined character.
Ah, I see. The habit follows the character, not the other way around.
Right. Tactics might work for a bit, but they wear off. True character endures. It provides a much more stable foundation for everything, including wealth.
Which brings us to these ancient defenses against modern temptations. the 4 Stoic virtues: courage, wisdom, justice, and temperance. Why does he single out temperance as maybe the most critical for navigating modern culture?
Well, to Galloway, temperance is key because modern culture constantly relentlessly tests it. Capitalism, as we said, it thrives on our lack of self-control, our obsession with status. But temperance, for him, it goes beyond just spending money. It's also the resistance to indulgence in, say, emotional outbursts or playing the victim, or even just constantly chasing pleasure. It's about managing all our excesses.
Okay. And how do you build this kind of character? He says slowly, right?
Slowly. And through intentional, deliberate decisions, not just reacting all the time. He talks about starting his No Mercy, No Malice blog back in 2016.
Yeah, the weekly posts?
A weekly commitment. And he credits that consistent act with transforming him into a writer. He sits down Thursday night, dogs, a drink, and he gets to work. He says the identity of writer emerged from that consistent, almost ritualistic habit.
So it's like you decide who you want to be, and then you just start doing the things that person would do consistently.
Exactly. Small actions repeated over time, they don't just form habits, they actively build your character and solidify your identity.
Okay, so we've talked about what works. What about what doesn't work? Galloway takes aim at this idea that just working hard automatically equals good character.
Oh, this is a big one for him.
Yeah.
He points out, and it's kind of uncomfortable, how many people use working hard as an excuse.
An excuse for what?
For neglecting their partner or their health, or maybe even just for being kind of rude or abrupt with people. It becomes this convenient cover story.
I'm busy, I'm important, I'm working hard.
Right. He even admits that in his 20s and 30s, he lacked spending discipline. He told himself he deserved nice things because he worked so hard, or that he'd always make more money later. That mindset, he stresses, directly undermines long-term financial discipline.
And even if you resist that initial urge to buy stuff now, the YNSN, there's another trap waiting, right? The hedonic treadmill, lifestyle creep.
Oh yeah, it's insidious. He calls it an arms race against yourself. Luxuries just inevitably become necessities.
It's not just the fancy cars.
It's everything. As you get older, you naturally want, better health care, healthier food, safer cars, more insurance. Yuval Noah Harari put it perfectly. One of history's few iron laws is that luxuries tend to become necessities and to spawn new obligations.
Spawning new obligations, that's key.
And what's really tricky, Galloway notes, are abstract rewards like money itself. Because money is just a number, right? It's infinite. So there's never really enough. The goalposts keep moving.
Which leads to the diminishing marginal utility of money.
Exactly. Research shows happiness increases definitely lag behind income increases. Like the jump in happiness from earning $60,000 to $120,000 is roughly the same as the jump from $120,000 to $240,000.
Doubling your income gives you the same happiness boost each time, but the absolute amount needed keeps going up.
Right. And for some people, at higher incomes, that correlation just kind of disappears altogether. The more you have, the less extra happiness you get from each additional dollar.
Another trap, ignoring luck, attribution bias.
Yeah, this is critical. We tend to credit ourselves for success. I worked hard, I'm smart, and blame external forces for failure. Bad luck, the market tanked.
But successful people especially can underestimate luck's role.
Dangerously so. It can lead them to overestimate their own genius, take bigger risks, and then boom, squander the wealth they built. And conversely, for people who aren't succeeding, that whole "you can do anything" mantra can feel like blaming them entirely, ignoring the genuine role fortune or misfortune plays.
Okay, so if those are the traps, what does work? Let's get into the actionable character builders. He talks about managing anger.
Yeah, he's pretty open about struggling with it himself.
Yeah.
Says he used to carry this imaginary scorecard, always needing to get even for slights.
Sounds exhausting.
Totally.
Yeah.
A huge waste of energy. The Stoic approach, which he tries to embrace, is cultivating indifference. You just can't control what other people do, only how you respond. He mentions advice from Hamid Moghadam. The best revenge is to live a better life.
Channel that energy inward into improving yourself.
Exactly. Focus on what you can control.
Next up, sweat it out.
Like that.
Exercise. This seems basic, but he argues it's huge.
He argues it's possibly the single most effective thing you can do for an across-the-board improvement in your quality of life. Short-term, long-term, everything.
And the evidence backs it up.
Irrefutably. He cites a review of over 60 studies showing workplace fitness activities boost productivity. It's the most common trait he sees among high-performing people. It just fuels energy, clarity, resilience, all things that help you build wealth.
Okay, we've covered a lot on character anger, exercise. But Galloway saves his strongest conviction for one single decision. He calls it the most impactful economic choice you'll ever make. What is it?
Your choice of life partner. Unequivocally.
Really? More than career choice or investment strategy?
He argues yes. Statistically, married individuals are, on average, 77% wealthier than single people, and their net worth typically goes up about 16% for each year they stay married.
Wow. That's a massive economic booster shot.
It absolutely is. Spouses can act as a team, provide accountability, but there's a huge flip side.
Divorce.
Yeah, divorce, on average, wipes out about 3/4 of your wealth for both men and women. And the biggest predictor of divorce, it isn't cheating or fights about the kids.
Yeah, it's money.
It's financial disagreement. So marrying someone who is, as he puts it, better at money, and that doesn't mean cheap, he clarifies, but financially aligned and disciplined, that can be a really significant long-term benefit.
That is a truly foundational insight. Okay, let's transition to the second pillar, focus and career choice. How does he define focus here?
He sees focus as the deliberate choice of what you pay attention to. And crucially, it's a sustained effort, often over decades, that gives direction to all that horsepower of hard work we talked about.
So hard work isn't enough, you need direction.
Exactly. Building economic security isn't a quick sprint. It takes decades of sustained effort. Hard work provides the engine power, but without clear, sustained focus, you might just be spinning your wheels, burning fuel, without actually going anywhere specific.
And what about balance? That word gets thrown around a lot.
He offers a more nuanced view. He says you probably can have it all, just not all at once.
Ah, sequentially.
Right. Balance is often something achieved sequentially over a lifetime, not necessarily perfectly balanced every single day or week. He's candid about his own lack of balance in his 20s and 30s, cost him his first marriage, his hair, maybe his 20s entirely.
But he feels it was worth it.
Given his trajectory, yes. He feels the mastery he gained during that intense period was ultimately worth the sacrifices for him.
Which ties into accepting the primacy of work, especially earlier in your career.
Definitely. Particularly in your 20s through your 40s, you're likely going to spend a lot of time working. So you really don't want to resent it. Acceptance comes easier if you're actually good at your work, if it's financially rewarding, and if you're actively cultivating a sense of mastery.
You mentioned mastery. This reminds me of the power of constraints idea. He saw this with new mothers re-entering the workforce at his firm, Profit.
Yeah, that's a great example. Unlike big firms, Profit offered flexibility. And these women, juggling huge responsibilities at home, were often some of their most productive employees.
Because they had to be incredibly efficient.
Exactly. They didn't have time to waste. As the saying goes, if you want something done, give it to a busy person. It forces focus and ruthless prioritization.
Which brings us back to focus. Steve Jobs said focus is about saying no. Elon Musk aiming for the best part is no part.
It's about simplifying, streamlining, cutting out the non-essential.
Okay, now for a really provocative one from Galloway. Don't follow your passion, follow your talent. Why does he say that if someone tells you to follow your passion, they're probably already rich?
Huh. Yeah, he argues it's often advice from people who made their fortune in something decidedly unglamorous, like iron or smelting or waste management.
And that follow your passion can be a trap.
A trap leading to exploitation, potentially. He points out how companies like Chanel, with massive profit margins, used to rely on unpaid interns simply because they could. People were passionate about fashion.
So follow your passion can translate to prepare to be exploited.
Or at least underpaid. As Morgan and Housel put it, doing something you love on a schedule you can't control can feel the same as doing something you hate. Passion doesn't pay the bills on its own.
So if not passion first, then what is talent in his view? It sounds broader than just, say, playing the piano.
Much broader. He defines talent simply as what comes easily to you that's difficult for other people.
Okay, examples.
He mentions a colleague, Connie Hallquist, who is just brilliant at managing people. Scott Harrison, founder of charity, Water, leveraged his talent for making connections honed as a club promoter into building a massive nonprofit.
And Galloway himself?
His own experience in college crew. He wasn't the strongest, but he learned he could endure pain exceptionally well. That ability to just keep going, he says, helped him outlast others later at Morgan Stanley.
So talent could be managing people, making connections, enduring pain. It's quite varied. How do you actually find your talent then?
He suggests putting yourself into lots of different contexts. Volunteer work, student government, different kinds of jobs, team sports. Environments reveal talent.
Trying things out.
And crucially, figuring out what you're not good at is just as important as finding what you are good at. He admits he had many false positives, jumping from consulting to e-commerce to hedge funds before realizing his true gift was communicating. That really flowered when he started teaching at NYU.
And the path to durable passion, he argues, often comes after you achieve mastery in a talent.
Exactly. It's that flow state you find when you're deeply engaged in something you're good at, where you lose your sense of self-consciousness, lose track of time. So follow your passion isn't necessarily wrong. It might just be backward. Passion often follows competence and mastery.
Okay, so you identify your talents. Then comes making strategic career choices. He talks about an elimination strategy.
Yeah, sometimes knowing what careers you're definitely ill-suited for is more important than finding the perfect fit right away. Avoid paths where your weaknesses will be constantly exposed.
And time travel.
That's from Bill Burnett's Designing Your Life. The idea is to talk to people who are maybe 10, 15, 20 years ahead of you in a potential career path. Understand the long-term reality, not just the entry-level grunt work. Base your decision on where you could get to, not just where you start.
That makes sense. And look for upside potential.
Absolutely. Seek roles in industries where your compensation can scale with the company's success, profits, valuation. Think finance, software, real estate. You want the potential for, as he puts it, a piece of the action, not just a flat salary.
He also notes that downturns can be good times to start businesses.
Surprisingly, yes. Microsoft, Apple founded in recessions. Uber, Airbnb emerged after the 2008 crisis.
Why is that?
Well, talented people might be more available, assets like office space might be cheaper, and companies forged in tough times often develop a more disciplined, resilient DNA because they had to survive when things were lean.
Now, Galloway offers some really blunt takes on specific career paths. Let's hit a few surprising ones. Entrepreneurship, he doesn't romanticize it much.
Not at all. He paints it as incredibly taxing. It's for a unique personality type, he says. People who often resent authority and, crucially, have this incredible ability to just get back up off the mat after rejection, again and again.
High stress, high responsibility.
Round-the-clock work, intense stress, carrying the weight of your employees' economic futures. His own big venture, Red Envelope, failed slowly over 10 years. Cost him 70% of his net worth. It's definitely not for the faint of heart. He emphasizes the resilience needed.
Okay, opposite end maybe. Media careers. He calls that a passion trap.
Yeah, he sees it as having potentially lower ROI and definitely high volatility. The statistic he uses is pretty stark. 87% of journalism majors apparently regret their choice.
87%. Compared to
only 28% of computer science majors.
Yeah.
It's a blunt reminder that if passion is the only thing driving you into a field, you might be setting yourself up for economic disappointment.
What about skilled trades? Electricians, plumbers, often overlooked.
He thinks this is a massive, often ignored opportunity. These are highly in-demand careers. They're projected to grow way faster than the overall job market. We're apparently going to be 500,000 plumbers short by 2027 alone.
Wow, so scarcity value.
Big time. Good income potential, scarcity value, and often the ability to own your own business down the line. Plus, he points out the Main Street economy opportunity. Lots of successful small businesses owned by retiring baby boomers might be up for acquisition.
Related to career, location. He pushes hard for moving to a city when you're young.
Yeah, even if it's expensive. Get the cheapest apartment you can find, don't even bother furnishing it much, and just practice saying yes to experiences. Cities are where you build relationships, learn about yourself, find opportunities.
And within a company, proximity to HQ matters.
Directly correlated with career trajectory and promotions, he argues. Remote employees, statistically, are less likely to get promoted and, frankly, easier to lay off. It's just easier to fire people you've only met on Zoom.
Ouch. Okay, also important, knowing when to quit. He mentions gravity problems.
Right, that's another concept from Designing Your Life. These are obstacles you simply cannot change, like major macroeconomic shifts, or maybe unrequited love, or a boss who will never promote you.
Things you can't fix.
Exactly. If it's not actionable, he says, it's not really a problem you can solve. It's a circumstance you have to navigate or accept. Don't waste energy fighting battles you literally cannot win. Reframe and focus on what is actionable. His own red envelope failure, he admits he clung on way too long, failing slowly over 10 years.
And strategic job changes often pay off.
Often, yes. Outsiders frequently value you more than your current employer. Job switchers often see significantly higher pay bumps than those who stay put. He argues loyalty should be primarily to people, like mentors who support you, rather than to companies, because companies ultimately have no loyalty to you.
Okay, let's shift to the third pillar, the accelerator time and financial discipline. Time, he says, is your most valuable resource, especially when young.
Absolutely. The richest person, the poorest person, everyone gets the same 24 hours a day. And you can't get refunds for time you spend poorly. It's finite and non-renewable.
He tells that powerful story about buying a private jet.
Yeah, it sounds extravagant, but his calculation was fascinating. Given his intense travel schedule, he figured owning the plane saved him about 13 days a year that he could spend at home.
Yeah.
Over a decade, that's 130 days. Over 4 months of extra time with his sons. The cost was roughly $1.2 million a year.
So the question became,
Would he rather have an extra $12 million in the bank at the end of his life or 4 more months with his boys? He says it was one of the easiest financial decisions he ever made. It put a dollar value on his time with family.
that's a really stark example of not being dollar-wise, hour-foolish, valuing your time appropriately.
Exactly. Like maybe paying for grocery delivery frees up 2 hours you could use for focused work or learning a new skill or just being present with your family. If grocery shopping is genuinely relaxing for you, fine. But if it's just a time suck, maybe outsourcing it makes sense.
And on the flip side of valuing time, he sees social media as what?
As potentially one of the greatest wealth destroyers in history, especially for young people.
Wealth destroyer, how?
Because it robs them of countless hours of precious time, time that could be invested in focused work, building real-world skills, cultivating deep relationships, and often the return on happiness from that time spent scrolling is incredibly low. He cites a study ranking social media dead last out of 27 leisure activities for making people happy.
Dead last. Wow. It's a time vampire.
Pretty much. Which underlines the need for ruthless prioritizing and time management. He admits he rarely clears his inbox. His work requires these short bursts of intense focus, so sometimes he might seem distracted, but he's actually processing ideas for his content.
It's ironic, isn't it? You often only appreciate how much time you had when you were young once it's gone.
Totally. If you are young listening to this, you are genuinely rich in time. And just like people rich in money leverage their capital, you can leverage your time. Don't squander it.
Okay, so after the big picture on time, let's drill into the specifics of financial discipline. Sounds simple, but where does Galloway say it starts?
It starts with something almost deceptively basic. Ruthlessly measuring your money. Tracking it.
Just knowing where it goes. He links this to the Hawthorne effect.
Yeah, the idea that simply the act of observing something changes the behavior being observed. He uses a nutrition app, and just tracking what he eats helps him stay on track. Same with money.
Awareness drives buddy choices.
Exactly. It creates awareness, and that awareness is the first step towards control. He even gamified saving back in college, lived on like $91 a week eating top ramen bananas so he could save enough for tuition.
$91.
Yeah. Budgeting, he insists, gives you control and, crucially, options. The first step is defining your head above water budget. Your realistic monthly minimum spend, including a small line item for savings, even if it's just tiny to start.
And set achievable short-term goals.
Definitely. Something like $5,000 saved by October 1st is way more motivating and effective than some huge abstract goal like $1 million by age 30. Unrealistic goals can actually make you give up.
He also mentions little life hacks for spending discipline.
Like using cash sometimes. Actually seeing the money leave your wallet introduces friction, makes the spending feel more real, more tangible than just tapping a card.
And the 3 money buckets.
Right. For organizing the money you have above that baseline head above water amount. Bucket 1 is for regular consumption. Bucket 2 is for intermediate expenses, larger, less frequent needs like saving for grad school, a house down payment, a new car. And bucket 3 is for genuine long-term savings and investing.
And that intermediate bucket needs different handling.
Yeah, he advises funding that with low variability, high liquidity investments. You need that cash to be accessible for emergencies or planned big purchases. So don't tie it up in illiquid things like real estate or super volatile stocks.
Okay, key action item. He stresses one above all others.
Max the match. Always, always, always maximize your employer's 401k or similar retirement program match if they offer one.
Why is this so critical?
Because it's literally free money. It's a tax-deferred contribution, and your employer is giving you a guaranteed 100% return on your contribution up to the match limit. It is likely the single best investment opportunity you will ever encounter. Don't leave it on the table.
Got it. Max the match. Finally, under time and discipline, plan for your future self. Avoid projection bias.
Right. We tend to overestimate how much our future tastes and desires will resemble our current ones. But you will change. Your priorities will shift. So your financial planning needs to build in flexibility and options, not just lock you into obligations based on who you are today.
It gives a rough calculation for figuring out your needed asset base.
Yeah, a simple rule of thumb. Multiply your desired annual burn rate, that's your spending, plus estimated taxes by 25. That assumes you can generate roughly a 4% return above inflation from your assets to live off indefinitely.
Burn rate times 25. Okay, let's dive into the final pillar, the multiplier diversification and investing. This is where it all comes together.
Exactly. Investing, Galloway says, is the bridge. It connects all that hard work, the character development, the time discipline, and translates it into actual economic security. And he argues it's potentially the easiest part.
Easier? How?
Because you're largely leveraging the work, the ingenuity, the effort of others, thousands of people working at the companies you invest in. You get to benefit from their labor and innovation, ideally while you sleep.
Okay, what are the basic principles here?
The absolute fundamental is that risk is the price of return. In any functioning market, the more risk you take with your capital, the higher the potential return you should expect. No risk, generally no return beyond inflation, maybe.
And investments fall on two axes.
Right. Active versus passive investing. Are you trying to pick winners yourself or just tracking the market? And then diversified versus concentrated. Are you spread out or putting all your eggs in one or two baskets? That last one is crucial.
Diversification, he calls it Kevlar. And he learned this the hard way.
Oh yeah, big time. With his company Red Envelope, it failed slowly, took 10 years, and he lost 70% of his net worth. Why? Because he was way too concentrated in it. He kept doubling down, emotionally invested, not diversified.
And he had another experience with Netflix stock.
Yeah, he bought Netflix at $12, sold it at $10 for a tax loss. Painful, sure. But he survived it financially because his portfolio wasn't only Netflix. He also held Apple, Amazon, Nike at the time. Those other holdings protected him from what he calls that stray bullet.
So diversification isn't about maximizing gains, it's about survival.
It's absolutely about survival. It's about ensuring that when, not if, when one of your investments takes a big hit, it doesn't wipe you out entirely. Because you will experience losses if you invest long enough.
This ties into the random walk down Wall Street idea, right? Trying to beat the market is mostly futile.
Pretty much.
Right.
Warren Buffett's famous $1 million bet proved it quite dramatically. He bet that a simple S&P 500 index fund would outperform a selection of actively managed hedge funds over 10 years.
And the index fund won.
Crushed them. Consistently.
Yeah.
Very, very few professional investors, let alone individuals, can consistently beat the market over the long term. The data is overwhelming.
So individual stock picking is mostly a random walk.
Largely, yes, as Burton Malkiel famously argued. Over a 20-year period, something like 94% of large-cap active funds failed to beat the S&P 500 index. While maybe a small amount of active investing can be useful for learning, for the vast majority of your long-term money, passive diversification is the clear winner.
Okay, Galloway then talks about the capitalist's handbook, understanding the system. He frames money as exchanged time.
Yeah, it's a neat way to think about it. A factory worker trades 8 hours of their time for a wage. Then they use that money to buy, say, a beer. They're effectively trading their time for the time of the brewer, the farmer who grew the hops, the bartender, the delivery driver.
All the specialized labor involved.
Exactly. Money facilitates this incredibly complex exchange of specialized labor, which allows for greater efficiency and overall economic growth for society.
And the government plays a crucial role in this marketplace.
Two vital roles, he stresses. First, establishing and enforcing the rules of the market. Property rights, contract enforcement. Without that government authority, he argues, markets just devolve into a quagmire of scams, broken promises, and outright theft.
He gives an example.
He quite pointedly references crypto, circa 2022, as an example of what can happen without clear rules and enforcement.
Oof. Okay, and the government's second role.
It acts as a massive market participant itself. The U.S. government is the largest single holder of financial capital via Treasury securities. And the Federal Reserve, the central bank, sets the key federal funds interest rate.
Floor rate.
Right. It influences all other interest rates in the economy, mortgages, car loans, business borrowing. It's like the central nervous system of the financial world.
Okay, that leads us to valuation, the difference between price and value.
Crucial distinction. Price is just what something sells for today. Value is about the future. How much money can this asset reasonably be expected to produce down the road?
Benjamin Graham's quote.
In the short run, the market is a voting machine. Driven by sentiment and popularity, that's price. But in the long run, it's a weighing machine, reflecting the underlying fundamentals that's value.
And valuation involves predicting.
Three main things. The future income the asset will generate, its eventual terminal value, what you can sell it for later, and the risk or uncertainty surrounding those predictions. And always factor in time's arrow money today is worth more than the same amount tomorrow because of inflation and opportunity cost.
So how do we put this into practice, his capitalism on autopilot approach?
It's refreshingly simple, really. 3 steps. 1, use an established, reputable broker. 2, invest the majority of your long-term money in passive, diversified, low-cost exchange-traded funds, or ETFs. He specifically recommends a broad market index like the S&P 500 ETF as your core holding, your benchmark.
And step 3.
Dedicate a small portion. He suggests maybe 20% of your first $10,000 saved to active investing. Picking a few individual stocks, maybe. But do this primarily for learning how markets work, not because you seriously expect to beat the index funds consistently.
Got it. Learn with a small amount, index the rest. What about the main asset classes within that?
Okay, quickly. Equity, or stocks, that's ownership in companies. Claims on future profits, paid out via dividends or share buybacks. Bonds, basically lending money, either to corporations or governments. Things like treasury bonds are super safe and often exempt from state income tax.
And real estate.
We mentioned it before, but he reiterates its power. Great, long-term, tax-advantaged way to build wealth, either through owning your own home or investment properties.
Commodities and currencies.
Higher risk, generally. Often accessed through derivatives contracts whose value depends on an underlying asset. He cautions that while derivatives can be used by professionals for hedging risk, for most retail investors, using them is closer to gambling than investing. Worse odds, and no free drinks like in Vegas.
Yeah, okay. And investing's final boss.
The tax man. Taxes are complex, unavoidable, and can significantly impact your returns. You need to understand the basics. Current income tax versus capital gains tax, usually lower. Deductions, payroll taxes, marginal versus effective rates.
It sounds like professional help is key here.
He strongly advises it. Seeking professional tax advice, he says, can be one of your best investments, especially understanding tax timing and deferral, using retirement accounts like traditional versus Roth IRAs or 401ks. Minimizing your lifetime tax burden is huge.
All right, wrapping up with some advice from his lifetime of investing. First, zig when others zag.
Yeah, avoid crowded markets. When everyone piles into the same thing, whether it's Miami condos back in the day, or maybe even certain tech stocks now returns inevitably get competed down, he even applies this to the rising cost and potentially decreasing ROI of college degrees for some fields. Too much demand relative to the value add.
Don't trust your emotions.
Absolutely critical. Losses will happen. They are part of investing. Learn from them rigorously, like Ray Dalio advises. And maybe even more importantly, when an investment does really well, spikes way up, have the discipline to take profits. Sell some. Diversify. Don't just get greedy and double down emotionally, like he admits he did with Red Envelope, which nearly broke him.
And definitely don't day trade.
It's gambling, plain and simple. Not investing. The odds are terrible. He cites data showing only like 3% of active retail traders actually made a profit during that whole meme stock craze over a 2-year period. The house always wins, basically.
Finally, embrace geographic flexibility, especially when young.
Go where the opportunities are. He argues a big part of the U.S.'s historical economic dynamism was people's willingness to pack up and move to where the action was. Don't let geography limit your potential unnecessarily early on.
Okay, so we've really navigated the 4 key principles of Scott Galloway's Algebra of Wealth, cultivating that stoic character.
Right, the foundation.
Maintaining sharp focus in your career, following talent.
Giving horsepower direction.
Leveraging the power of time and financial discipline.
The accelerator.
And finally, smart, diversified investing as the multiplier.
The 4 pillars. Character, focus, time, diversification.
And underlying it all, this idea that economic security isn't really just about the money itself. It's about control.
Exactly. It's the ability to actually plan your future, to commit your time how you see fit, to provide security for the people who depend on you. Galloway shares movingly how financial security allowed him to care for his mother at the end of her life, and how it lets him be truly present for his son. Experiences, he says, that were priceless and wouldn't have been possible otherwise.
It's a powerful framework. So for everyone listening, you now have this different way to think about building your own financial security. What stands out most to you from this deep dive? How will you figure out your own burn rate and start making those intentional choices to build the asset base you need?
And maybe even more importantly, what's your why? Why are you pursuing wealth or economic security? Finding that reason, nurturing it, carrying it with you, that might be the most crucial element of all.
Thanks for tuning in to the Book Summary Podcast. If you found value in today's episode, hit that like button, subscribe for more summaries, and share it with someone who's ready to grow. Want deeper insights, exclusive book notes, and reading tips? Join our free newsletter. The link's in the description. And don't forget, if you'd like to read the full book, our affiliate link is right below. It helps support the channel and keeps the summaries coming. Until next time, keep reading, keep growing.